All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here. Hopefully, this microphone has eliminated the static because that has been an ongoing battle the past couple podcasts. It's been hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb to using the laptop to being in an echoey space because they don't know how to decorate an Airbnb, which my Libra rising just does not understand. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. However, we are going to talk about some astrology, and I'm really excited about this. I've only done something similar to this once for someone else's podcast, and you can go watch that at Rob Carney's podcast, Whole Health Connections. I will go and find it and put it in the show notes for this. But today we will be meeting with a special guest, someone that I connected with a couple winters back, last winter, early 2020, late 2020, early 2021. The time warp is real, but we will get to dive into the ethers of her astrology chart, and it's going to be wicked. I try not to look at the charts before I go and do them, just so I can intuitively guide the conversation based off of what we share back and forth. However, I'm having a hard time not staring at it. So before we dive in, before my eagerness gets the best of me, I just want to invite us all to close our eyes if you are available to, if you feel comfortable to, and take a big, deep inhale into the lungs, fill them up all the way to the top and all the way down as if they were just going to the feet. Fill it up nice and wide, all sides of the body, and pause. And at your own pace, at your own time, exhale that breath slowly out of the body. And let's go through a few rounds of breath in this manner. So inhale. Feel yourself inflate like a beautiful little pumpkin. Not that they inflate, but you get the idea. We're going to pause and then exhale and just release it all out. And do that 2, 3, 4 more times at your own pace, your own rhythm. Today, I just want to invite you to set an intention as you listen to this podcast. Wherever you may stand in your beliefs with astrology or the metaphysical world, the only way we really hold a belief is when we have obsessive and continuing thoughts that keep confirming it. If we allow it to become something more than an idea. And ideas are really fun to play with. So I invite you to create an intention around how you wish this information to present itself to you today. Although we may not be looking at your own personal natal birth chart, there's so much knowledge that can be learned from listening to the conversation held between two people while looking at this blueprint of the soul. And as always, of course, hold yourself with this loving embrace, a loving space all around you. And on your next inhale, allow it to be held for 5 or 6, 7 seconds. Pause at the top, and then exhale for 1 second longer than what you just inhaled for. So if you inhaled for 5, exhale for 6. And then come back to your normal breathing. And if you can, I just invite you to shake your body, shake your hands, get a little energy moving. Our little chi centers need to be woken up so that we don't got that stagnant energy inside. And now we're here and we're in the flesh and we get to just come back in a neutral space. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a new listener, if you're an old listener, or if you are curious about the stars, I'm excited for this. So without further ado, Shelby, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself. Tell us all about your life, what you do, where you're at, anything that's pertinent to who you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on this podcast. It is just awesome being here and connecting with you after, talking about our podcast over a year ago now. But yeah, my name is Shelby. I like to say I'm an adventure and lifestyle content creator. I live in North Lake Tahoe, California. I've been here for around 3 years now. And yeah, it's been a really great time. I've been doing content creation for the past 2 years, and it's just been something I've really been passionate about and building. It's just great because I can let it revolve around my fun and the lifestyle that I live. I recently got a puppy, and that's also been like the light of my life. His name is Stanley, and Stanley is actually a puppy from one of Isabelle's dog's litters. So that's how this is all full circle.
Is he by your feet right now?
He is.
Will you pick him up? And everyone that's just listening to this, I'm sorry, but you're missing out. Go find us on YouTube. Stanley, he is the cutest bean in the world. He was our only red and white border collie from the litter, and he is literally perfect. I said that about all of them, but he is extra perfect. He's got Zena's like look and then a little bit of Elmer's like structure. So I'm in love every time I see him.
He's also very oddly calm.
Yeah.
Like every day I'm just like, when is the crazy? Oh, there it is. There it is. It's like, when is the crazy gonna come out? But it's not often. He's pretty chill.
I love that. Yeah, Zena was a lot more relaxed in that sense. Like her mischief was taking the shoes out of my closet and then putting them everywhere around the room when I was gone and then just hiding in the closet. I was like, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
They're the best. It is such a pleasure to have so many different little bits and pieces that connect us. And it's so fun to be able to do this here now. So a few questions before we start. So everyone that's listening, this is how I typically dive into a very first astrology reading with someone. So it's pretty basic, and I will talk about what we will run through. But first and foremost, even if you are an astrologer out there yourself, please God, check the birthday and the time, because if we start off on that wrong note, we're never going to go back to redeem that. So I would love to confirm with you, Shelby, that you were September 6th, 96 at 7:13 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome. Sweet. So we got that down. And then, of course, in astrology, having the exact time is super important for the kind of astrology that I do, this Western astrology, because the rising sign, little lesson here, that changes every 2 hours. So which is a great part about astrology, if you and 5 other people in the same room have the same birthday, but you're all really different with like a couple different quirks that are the same, that's most likely because your rising signs are different. So if someone had a Libra rising versus an Aries rising, this is very, very, very easy to tell, because the Libra person might be a people pleaser, might really love to bring the balance and the peace to the room, or is really easy to talk to light you up, to be like aesthetically pleasing to the eye or like catching. The Aries person is going to be a little bit more dominant in their energy. They're going to be a little bit more I. This is what I'm doing. You're going to follow me or I'm leaving you behind. The train's not waiting for you to get on. And it's a lot more of this quickness, a spark, a very much, I don't care about balance. We are going with the flow. I have no idea what's going to happen, but we're just going to do it and see and learn on the way. And so it's really interesting how that can play in to the birthday when you do have people with the same birthdays. And where I want to start with you, Shelby, is that so over the next hour, we're going to do like a little checkup. We're going to make sure that there's some timing that's established and that we can figure out when your chart may have been activated, when your energy really got flowing, or any time that we get to witness what side of the road you chose. So I like to call there's a high road and there's a low road to each sign, each placement, each planet. And it's really just a matter of what we're learning in this lifetime and how we're going to go about using that energy. And so we'll spend about 10, 15 minutes talking about timing. And then we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes talking about the sun, moon, and rising. And then finally, we're going to see what is happening now to bring it all together. And so I want to start by asking you, what happened for you around the age of 20, 21 years old?
Oh, I'm trying to think. That seems like such a long time ago. I'm trying to think. First off, I need to think about what year that was when I was in school. Okay. I don't want to get this wrong, so I need to think for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 20 was an interesting year for me. So my birthday is always at the start of a new school year. And I remember that was when I turned 20, I was a sophomore in college. And that was a really hard year for me. Like extremely, extremely hard. Probably one of my hardest years of my life, just health-wise. Our college had a mumps outbreak, and I had to get a vaccine for it, the MMR vaccine, just so I could remain on campus, stay safe. But I ended up just having a really, really awful allergic reaction to it. Long story short, I ended up missing over a month of school, and I just had a ton of inflammation in my body, and it just my immune system kind of just attacked itself. So I just basically got sick every 2 weeks for like a whole year.
Oh my God.
I feel like that it was a blessing in disguise though, because it made me learn how to take care of myself on my own. I mean, I'm sure I've heard you've had some health stuff too. And when you're going from doctor to doctor, you decide to also educate yourself on how you might be able to heal your body as well. So it was a blessing in disguise. But yeah, to sum up my year, that was a very, very hard year.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that. But the fact that instead of like falling into this deep complaining era of life, you're like, all right, this is what I'm living with. And now I could either educate myself and know how to be at least helping healing my body in a certain way, or I could just be in this like depressive state. And maybe that came in an ebb and flow, but where you are now at this point, it seems like you handled that in the best way possible, and that it was a lesson that you were given in life to be able to be who you are in this moment. So I'm really sorry that that did happen for you. But at the same time, I'm really happy that you're able to make those healthy choices and to learn more about who you are from the inside out and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your dietary experiment that you did. We've talked about this a couple times, but more so like different food groups that you eliminated or brought in, and then maybe things you avoided for a little bit to see what helped you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've tried a lot of diets. I've read, I've really became obsessed with just trying to figure out how I could just feel as great as possible on my own. As much as I did see other doctors, I just at that time was not getting much help by other doctors other than just taking steroids, doing this, just like Band-Aid type of stuff. But one of the things that really helped me was trying to remove foods that were inflammatory for my body. I did that, just through a sort of like what's it called? I just had a brain fart.
Was it the elimination diet?
Sorry, yeah. I haven't had my coffee today. Yeah, the elimination diet. So I just cut out most processed foods, inflammatory foods such as gluten and dairy. And that alone did work wonders for me. I have been mostly gluten and dairy free since that year when I was 20 or 21. Probably consistently when I was 21. One of the things that really manifested physically for me after getting sick was eczema. And that was something I didn't ever really deal with except for when I was like a small, like toddler. And I had it all over my body. It was awful just for like a straight year. My face, my arms, my stomach, just like everywhere. Not only did it, it hurt my confidence and my self-esteem, but it was just so painful. As an athlete, I'm working out all the time. I felt like I couldn't even sweat because it would just get, yeah. So cutting out like inflammatory foods almost made an immediate difference to my skin. At least those foods were inflammatory for me. I feel like obviously everyone's body's different, but gluten and dairy are the two that have stayed consistent. I have gone like vegan, but I haven't noticed a tremendous difference for me. But yeah, gluten and dairy are like the big two for me that made a big difference.
Absolutely. In my own opinion, of course, I feel like that is the two biggest ones that people have the most success with. Like once I personally stopped having dairy in my life, like mucus eliminated. Like you get those like weird back of the throat boogers and you're like, man, oh man, what is this? And you're snot rocketing left and right, hitting people with them. It can bad. And then what is it? Like the dairy, like our stomachs, in my own opinion, of course, just due to the foods that we're presented and we're not always taught exactly what's being put in them or on them or sprayed with, like that can just deteriorate our stomach microbiome, and that in itself allows our little bellies to be sensitive to that wheat gluten. And it's so sad because bread is marvelous. But thank you for sharing that, because I know that's always a big thing to deal with, diet and changes and bodily confidence, especially when we're young and it's our 20s. We're like, who am I supposed to be? Where am I supposed to go? If I look like this, how am I supposed to be myself? Oh my gosh, it can just be a torment.
It's crazy too, though, because if that never happened to me, I don't know if I would have ever reevaluated my choices with eating, because my two favorite things, I love pizza, I love bread. I pretty much had that was like my diet, is lots of bread and lots of pizza, especially in college. But even as a kid, I just loved carbs and cheese. It was in everything. And I always wondered why after every time I ate a meal, I was so nauseous. And I just thought it was normal. Until eventually cutting it out of my diet, I realized, oh, wow, I feel a lot better. So yeah, it's made a tremendous difference in my life.
I love that. Heck yes. Well, I'm excited to keep hearing how that develops for you in the positive way. And then moving forward, have you ever heard of Saturn return?
I've heard of these terms, but I'm honestly not really that familiar. I don't know what it means, but I've heard of it.
Absolutely. So you'll get yours, around 2025. And I will pull up that exact date for you after this call. I think that's a personal thing that I don't feel comfortable sharing on the pod. So sorry guys, but everyone has a certain time frame that a Saturn return does happen. And so this is really a time where we have basically the principal coming into the office and going, hey, come here. And they're like, oh shit. Or you're like, yeah, I'm getting rewarded for something sweet. Because you have one or two feelings when that happens, or when someone's coming to you and you're like, I talked about them the other day, they must have found out, I'm really nervous now. Or you're like, oh, they must have got the present I sent them. Like however you had acted in that situation, this energy is going to multiply it in a way that you're going to learn from it, or you're going to be rewarded from it. So you can think about it as like the R planet: responsibility, reward, or what did I just say? It's not an R, but punishment. So it is definitely up there. And for you, it's going to be all about the physical body, the physical house. And it's going to have a lot to do with like your action during this time. So your speed, where you're going to lead without having people really being there to sure-footed follow you, but being in your own power and really feeling like you have this connection between how you want to create a community, but based off of what you believe in the shortest way I can say that. So that is in the future. We cannot go too much deeper into that, but it's always fun just to acknowledge, oh, great, during this time of my life, I'll have this kind of happening. And of course, when you're about 28 to 30 years old is when this takes place. So anyone out there who's around that age and you feel like the world is just slapping you in the face left and right, or like pulling your pants down in front of the auditorium that's full, yeah, that's the energy of this. So it's not to be afraid of, but it's to really make sure that you are doing what you're meant to do and that you're having fun and that you're enjoying your life, because you'll definitely hear about it from the world. So moving forward, we got that down. We have our timing based off of how the planets move through the chart. So needless to say, when you're born, the nurse ran out, took a picture of your birth chart in the sky, and then that's what we're always reading when we do natal birth charts. However, as we know, the planets are always spinning and moving around the world. So however they land in current time on our birth chart time, that's where we get these different energies, these different feelings, these different seasons of our lives, so to say. And so moving forward for your sun, moon, and rising, first of all, I want to state that you got your sun in Virgo, you have your moon in Cancer, and then your rising is in Pisces. So overall, before I ask any questions, how would you say that you feel like people see you in the world?
I would say I feel like people see me as someone that is really ambitious, like maybe like a go-getter, but not in a typical way. But I feel like people definitely see me as someone that's like always like busy, always like going after something, and like always has a booked schedule.
Yes, awesome. And then how would you say your emotions are, or your connection with your emotions?
Um, I'd say pretty in tune. I definitely like to monitor them. I like to journal every morning. I like to be really aware of them. But I'd say I'm pretty calm about them. Like I'm more of an internal feeler than like an external type of feeler. I don't really show everyone my emotions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then what do you feel like you're like inside? There's this little voice that tells you stuff. Like, where do you feel like, how do you feel like that connects with you?
I mean, I feel like it's everything.
Yes.
Like I feel like that, that's like your gut feelings. And I mean, if you listen to my podcast and I'm hoping to bring back, it's just I think everyone's little inner voice is what leads them to what they're destined in life. So for me, that's like my gut feeling is like it's myself, it's my awareness. It's when I'm able to hear that, that's me tapping into myself and presence. And I feel like I definitely do have that contrast though, because I'm definitely an overthinker. And I feel like I do have a lot of blocks, and it does have to do with my overthinking type of personality, but like I feel like I always end up feeling it out and going with the gut.
Mhm. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so nailed it. So Virgo Sun, what we can usually expect from people, and I say usually because I'm never going to umbrella anyone under the same sign. But when we have a Virgo Sun, this can usually look like someone who looks like they have their life organized. Like anything you see. So, for example, I'll use Instagram. Like every single little block is going to look perfect. It's going to look organized. It's going to look aesthetic. It's going to be the most like efficient for the eye to look at. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be over the top in a very modest and grounded way, because Virgos love perfection to a fault. Would you feel like you strive for perfection in what you do?
Yes. I feel like I'm trying not to say always, but currently it is that way. I'm trying to change it. But I'm always someone, I'll make a to-do list of like 30 things when really I can only achieve 5 of those.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and not even the fact that you can't achieve those things, but it's like it's only so much time in a day.
There's only so much time in the day. I'm really trying to work on that.
Oh, I love that. And so, do you ever feel like when you stay in alignment with that structure where you're making lists and you are really efficiently trying to make the most of your time, do you have a positive correlation or a funky correlation with your emotional body?
I honestly would say it depends. I feel like I go through phases where I'm just like, boom, 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 like all these tasks are done, my house is perfectly clean, and everything feels like magic.
Mhm.
Or I try to force that structure
Mhm.
and I just cannot follow it. And then it leads to this whole form of self-sabotage where I'm like, why can't I accomplish anything? It really changes. But a lot of the times it does really work for me. I love being organized. I feel like I almost love being organized and making the list more than doing the things on the list. But the lists and organization give me my motivation. Like 9 times out of 10, if like my house is a mess, like my brain is also a mess, if that makes sense.
Yes, 1000%. Oh my gosh, what's on the outside is what's on the inside. It's like
Mhm.
whatever we believe in our subconscious mind or like whatever we've learned, that is literally what our surroundings are. So, like, yeah, we'll leave it at that. But that is definitely how it usually is. So if you want to change something on the outside, go to your brain, go in there first, because our minds are actually not our first minds. I won't talk about that here, but our brains are in our guts, people. So moving forward, my next question is, if you were in an ideal world, what would that look like? No limitations, no judgments, exactly ideal for you.
Yeah, I think I'd start with food. Like something I love going grocery shopping. And if it were my choice, I would spend so much of my money just on my groceries. I love buying the best foods and like the feeling I get when I walk into like a really nice grocery store. And just in my perfect world, like I could go grocery shopping every week and get whatever I want and not be, on my current budget.
Mhm.
Um, just having more, I feel like I can't say more flexibility because I have a really, really flexible job right now, but the feeling of flexibility with complete financial freedom. As you know, growing a business, it fluctuates. I might have some really good months and I might still have some really not so good months. And that's where being on a budget really, really helps me. So having the flexibility with complete financial freedom. Also, I'm working my butt off right now trying to make this happen. And I really hope to have some more balance between content creation while on the go and like doing my explorations and actually doing my explorations and not having to pull out my phone and document everything as much as I love doing that. So just some more balance and more financial freedom.
I love that. Perfect. Ah, this is beautiful. Okay. And then I want to just do some rapid fire yes or no questions
Okay.
to get a little bit deeper into the energy. So, would you rather be focused or be creative, like free flow?
Oh no, this is my overthinking brain's coming out. Like, it depends. It depends. I'd say I think instinctually, like I do like being creative. I think my brain, my gut is saying like, um, yeah. I'll just go with creative.
Yep.
To
Perfect.
answer them faster.
Would you rather be inside or outside?
Outside.
Would you rather be at home or at a friend's house?
At home.
Would you rather work for someone or work for yourself?
Work for myself.
Would you rather follow the crowd or be unique?
Be unique.
Would you rather, one last question. Ooh, would you rather receive or give?
Give.
Right on. All right. So I'm asking all these questions because this is really how you can figure out what is more in charge. So for you, like you have double or your big three, the sun, moon, rising, it's double water, earth. But in my opinion, you actually have, let's see, the same amount of energy in each of those elements. So you're a very balanced person in that way. And then you have almost equal energy in your air and in your fire. So for me looking at that, that tells me that you're able to pull out whatever you need in the time it's needed, if that makes sense. So if it's in a like very exciting and thrilling, fast-paced area, your fire is going to turn on and you're going to engage it with your air. And like it's just going to get bigger and badder and better and more fun. And then if it's like, oh, we're dialing it down, you can pull out that water. And it's if it's one-on-one, you can get real sensitive. It's time to go in. You can get cozy, comforting. You nourish the people around you. And it can be this really like warming embrace because you feel comfortable with that toning it down. And would you say like, do you feel the resonance with that?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely feel the resonance with that. And it's funny because answering that question, would you rather be unique or would you rather fit in with the crowd? I would rather live a more unique lifestyle, but I notice I feel like I read the energy of the room and I fit that, just kind of how you were explaining that. I definitely resonate with that. I feel like I could be a really, really outgoing and crazy person if I'm around the right group of people, but then if I'm with a calmer crowd, I would be so shy and like not be as crazy or do the funnier things that I would do with a different crowd.
Absolutely. Wow. And so would you say that like in that way, would you, how do I want to ask you this? So being able to like put on that costume for the moment to fit that mold, would you say that, how do I want to ask this? I'm trying to be less complex with my questions because I feel like I can ask like 7 things in one question and it's horrid because everyone's like, what are you asking me right now? I am upside down. So I guess I'll ask in like how I was. Would you say that you're more practical or more of a feeler?
Feeler.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was picking up from you saying, like, okay, come in, I feel the room, and then I take on that action. So because you have that water and earth energy, it is really like you step in, you use your feelings, scan it all out. Of course, because when we can apply ourselves in a similar way, like if it's a funeral, we're probably not going to barge in with a party going on. That might not be great for everyone there. So it might be a little upsetting. But when we can do that and then we scan it and we go, okay, practical action on. And then you take the steps to actually do the thing. So I love hearing that because that's a big part of your makeup. And I would love to ask when you so, do you ever feel like, how do I want to ask this question? Do you ever feel like you overwork or you hustle at all?
Yes.
And when you do that, what happens?
Nothing happens. When I try to overwork or take too many strides, I get complete work paralysis. So it's just like a form of self-sabotage.
Oh my gosh. And when you take care of yourself first, your mind, your body, your soul, and you have yourself time before you work, how does that feel for you?
So much better. It's funny because recently I went on that trip to California.
Yeah.
And before that, I was so stressed. I was like, oh, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I'm so like just running around so stressed, but at the same time running around not getting anything done. And then instead just going on this trip, and like I probably just had like, you know, like 6 hours total working that whole week. Everything just fell into place. I got paid more money that week, and just I feel like the feeling of receiving, just like everything just like came to me since I was in that state of calm and presence. And yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you have some major push-pull energy between the signs of Capricorn and Cancer. So I would say that you're like heavily ruled by Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra in your chart. So those are like three major energy points for you. And so how I want to go about that is like, so you answering the question, like when I'm overworking that hustle mentality, running around trying to get multiple things done, but really we don't get anything done in those times. When we can actually give to the other side and receive any help or just allow the divine timing to unfold as it will, like that calm overcomes us. And so that Cancer energy, I would say, would be where you want to spend a little bit more of your time because you are so good at Capricorn. It's connected to the planet of expansion. So everything you do work-wise, it's only going to get bigger, but the challenge or that push pull for you will be learning how to tap into your own resources, sit with yourself first, set your intentions, say whatever kind of prayers for the world around you, make that nourishing meal, really have your own home body what you want it, because that is even like your act of love in itself. It's in the fifth house of Leo, and Capricorn, like the sign itself, most of it sits in the 11th house, a little bit in the 10th. So for me, what that means is like your work is different. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more in depth, like what your content creation looks like and how you got started with that. So maybe bringing us back to what you did before you were a content creator and then how it has allowed you to become who you are now.
Yeah. So before I was a content creator, I'll like flash forward. Before I was a ski instructor, I was in college and I was debating, you know, everyone was already getting like all these big jobs and interviews. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And I was working on developing an app, and I met an advisor that was kind of giving me these ideas of moving to Brooklyn, New York. I've always kind of saw myself living there. So I was just, you know, starting to make plans this way. And then in the middle of summer after graduating 2019, I just had this small gut feeling that was like, maybe I should take a gap year because I never took one from high school to college. Maybe I should take some time to think about what I need to do. And I ended up meeting someone that was talking about working in Tahoe as a ski instructor that I just randomly met on a trip. And it just planted that seed inside of me that I was like, oh yeah, I love skiing. I never got to nourish that passion of mine that much because I always did track in college and high school and middle school. So I just told myself, if I get these two jobs that I applied for that were like just like places I picked on a map for a ski resort, I'll take it as a sign that I need to take that gap year. And if I don't get those jobs, then I'm just going to move to New York and just start working right away. And as soon as I decided that, I got both of those jobs. I got the interviews in the same day within an hour back to back. And I got both of the, I got yeses for both of them. Yeah, that same day. So I was like, well, I guess like the universe just like answered that for me. So long story short, I became a ski instructor and I found a really nice place in Tahoe here. And I did that. And I also was I was a part of a luxury ski rental delivery service. So I would drive to people's homes after I was done ski instructing and fit their ski boots and their skis for them. It was really bougie. It was fun. But yeah, then I lost my jobs due to COVID and didn't know what to do because I was definitely really nervous in the beginning about the pandemic because of my past health issues. I just was getting sick so easily. And everything just started to point towards my initial dream that I've had since I was a little kid, which I uncovered, which basically was I always had this dream of being a YouTuber since I was 10 and actually living on the coast of California in a van, which is really funny because, as you know, now I'm starting, I've been rebuilding a camper with my boyfriend, and we just got back from a coastal trip, and it just like hit me. I was like, wow, like all of this is like manifesting in a very similar way. So that's what I did before.
Oh my gosh. I just love it. Y'all need to see Shelby's camper. It is beautiful. It is this cute vintage camper. And yeah, her and her man, they redid it. It's fucking beautiful inside. It's like everything I dreamed the camper Danny and I had to be, but just wasn't going to be because we had 7 puppies inside of it and that wasn't going to happen. It just ended up smelling like poop all the time. So really happy to live vicariously through you for like the ideal camper experience. But like hearing that all come out is like that's your soul, like you having this dream to be this like a visionary, being this person that's going out living their life and using these different technologies in the sense of like living in different worlds at the same time. So Pisces is your rising. So this is the dreamer. It has gone through all of the other things of the zodiac, and now it is time to focus on itself. So it's like this death and rebirth cycle. So through this lifetime, there's going to be a whole bunch of like reinventing of who you are, what you do, what you love, but only in the sense of that it'll get better and better, like a fine red wine. And how I like to see Pisces is like, sure, it can be distracted. It can feel like it has no focus. It can just be a little like up in the clouds, so to say. It's like that connection we have with spirit. But I love how you're saying, like, even with the podcast you have, like, it's that inside voice and that knowing, that gut feeling that we get that is really the guiding light, that lighthouse to where we want to go and what we're going to create. And so for you, it's so perfect for like your life story to be this creation, this vision, this art, this masterpiece out of video, out of like an illusionary world, because like we're over a goddamn Zoom right now. This is crazy. Like we're in person, but we're in 2 different places. And so it's that distortion, but in a positive and impactful way. And so that's how I see like you being in alignment with your soul's calling. Like I like to say that the sun is so it's an umbrella, right? So the sun's the umbrella, the big part that everyone sees, and it can either be like sparkly or polka dots or colorful or plain black, however like you are seen by everyone else. And then that stick you hold, it's your emotions, and that's the moon. So the emotional body perhaps can be with a Cancer moon. It can sometimes be like, if it's on the low road, why is no one like taking me into consideration? Why do I have to speak my words? Shouldn't they just know what I'm feeling? But on the outside, no one understands or no one knows. And then that makes you upset because it's hard to communicate that when it's on the low road. But on the high road, it's like, hey, I just need some time to myself for a little bit in order to get clear, and then we can talk about it. And so there's like that back and forth between the two. And where am I going with this right now? I lost my train of thought. But with your Pisces and the moon in Cancer, and then that sun in Virgo, it keeps you with your momentum, and it keeps you going on that track of A to B. Like, I want to be here, but I'm going there. And I know how to get there. And I'm going to trust my gut to get there. And then I'm going to tend to my emotions, my body, my mind, my soul in order to make that happen. And that's just a really beautiful thing. So I love hearing that you have like found ways to activate this in your life and to take the high road is what I'm hearing out of most of this. And what I really want to ask is, you have a really unique shape in your birth chart, and there's that push and pull between Cancer and Capricorn, but there's also a push and pull between Aries and Libra. So what I was saying earlier about the me versus the we. So it's like, when can you stand in your place and do what you need to do for yourself, because it's taking care of you, it's putting yourself first, and it's like it's being okay saying yes, I will move forward. I have no idea what's ahead, but I trust. And then the Libra side, it wants that balance. It doesn't like having a teeter-totter effect. It really wants to love and be loved. It's the relationships, and your sun is actually in the house of relationships. So you have like a very big emphasis on this, where, in my own opinion, it also illuminates how you work, because it's all connected. Because working with others will make you the happiest. Like, work for yourself, but being able to collaborate with other people. Would you say it like that? Yeah. So explain how you feel about that. Like, whether collaboration is more your gym jam, or if solo dolo is more your gym jam, or how you work with that push and pull effect.
I mean, I feel like I definitely do a lot of solo content for myself. When it comes to collaborating, I see myself really enjoying collaborating with like-minded brands. I do not, at least yet, I feel like I'm slowly forming like a group of really awesome creators here in Tahoe where I can collab and like work together and shoot content with them, and it's really, really fun. But when it comes to working with others, you know, that's, while I may be recording just on my cell phone by myself, I'm sending that out to my platform and collaborating and connecting on ideas with people that are following me. And I feel like that's honestly one of my favorite things, is to be able to educate and inspire people, whether it's, you know, to get more into skateboarding or an outdoor activity like hiking or skiing or anything outdoors related, or just to make an impact, to maybe make someone not be so scared just to try something new. Just the collaboration in that aspect, while I might be filming a lot like by myself, it's going out to other people and I'm still communicating on a platform and collaborating in that way.
I love that connection. It sounds like you have you found your balance of that in itself. Like you get to nurture the side of you that really does love that solo piece, but at the same time, it's not just impacting you, like it's impacting hundreds, thousands, millions, give or take, like who gets to see it. So I love that. And for your, like, how does your brain work, so to say? So like, how does your thought process work?
I would say it's scattered. But yeah, I definitely, the push and pull thing makes a lot of sense. So what I do is I try to schedule, you know, I schedule by the week normally, and I'll have like 1 week will be my bulk film week, where I like film my TikToks or my Instagram videos, or I go out and I shoot my photography content that I need to do. But when it comes to my ideas, I just have a note, like I have a notepad that I will script things on, but I have like I use my notes app, and just the ideas just pop into my head like at random times, whether it's a blessing and a curse, because like if I have a good idea that comes into my head, like, I'm sorry, I have to ignore you for a little bit. And like, whatever I'm doing, like I'm on a date, like I have to write it down or I will forget it, and it'll be out of my mind and gone forever. At least that's what I tell myself. Like I'm constantly writing notes in my phone about ideas.
Yes. Hell yes. That's the best way to use that energy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're right. Like they can only come once. If you don't pay attention,
A lot of them.
they'll just be gone. Beautiful presence with that. Oh my gosh. And I just want to like further elaborate on how ideal it is for you to like have this huge focus on the outdoors, and like how important the outdoors mean for you, like your sun, like that's how people really do become attracted to you. It's like Virgo is mother nature, it's the goddess, it's that the green thumb, the planter, and it really has a lot to do with like reminding people and showing people how to interact with Mama Earth all over again. Like, hey, you're never too late to like go out and skate. Like just pick up a board and go. I know you've helped me there a little bit, my couple times showing up. And it can
Yeah.
be really scary, but it's like how I like in my own experience of knowing you more personally, it's like there's such a nurturing energy that is as equally like pushing the people you care about forward. And like you care about anyone that's in that community of yours, like anyone that like will give you that positive time. We don't have no time for the negative energy. So it's like the people that are here to support you, it's like, yes, they're going to get a piece of that and they're going to feel that throughout everything that you have. So yeah, I'm just loving how connected you are to it and how like beautifully you've been able to like listen and go towards the nudges and chase your dreams and say yes and learn the push and pulls that are so heavy in your chart, but really make it this beautiful, beautiful you, like who you are now. And now like I've hit on like what I want to hit on, but do you have any questions for me that you're like, what could be going on, or like anything happening in your life that you'd want more insight on?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we kind of tapped into this a little bit, but I've been trying to think of exactly what I wanted to ask about this. And I just have noticed this theme. I've made, like, looking back, so much progress in my life, in my career, and like following my gut, and just really making my dreams a reality. But there's still, how do I want to word this? I feel like I'm not okay. So yeah, this is the total Virgo. I'm about to be like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. But like actually I feel like because I have this overachiever mentality every day where I don't feel like I have the feeling of not being productive, but I know I'm not being as productive either because I get the work paralysis of feeling like I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and then I don't do as much. So I have this block, but I'm still achieving what I want. Just I feel like because I still am pushing for it, but I feel like there's blocks. And if I were to get rid of these blocks, then I would just be a lot more at ease and things would come to me easier and I'd feel better. And yeah. So I keep feeling like there's themes of blocks and then big pushes where like things happen that I really, really want, but I still have like resistance.
So what has like instantly come to me having been staring at your chart and like what's just like, yeah, dropping in. Like what can you define what hard work is for you? Like what does that look like?
Just like at least accomplishing my to-do list for the day. And I have been better about like being realistic about it. But when it comes to working for myself, there's so many different things that I have to do in a day. Even if it's not a lot, I get overwhelmed. Like I have to, I might have like a bulk content day, or I might just have to make a few videos a day and then email like 7 different companies and create a media kit, so it's just learning how to get it all done. I keep feeling like I keep catching myself. I'm like, ooh, I'm trying to do too much.
Yeah, you're answering your own question here. So you are so freaking cute. Your little Virgo sun just wants to accomplish it all and more and like not accredit yourself for what you do get done. Like 7 emails to brands, a media kit here, a couple different content videos. When do you get time to pee in between all of that?
I think I'm just still so used when I I like went to a college that was just and I never used to be super, honestly, like super overachieving. I feel like I mostly just cared about like listening to what I genuinely wanted to do. I had that gut feeling more. And then I feel like my like super overachiever Virgo self came out like during college, like, because it was it was a culture shock. And then even now, I feel like I'm like, I was prepped to work like a big corporate job where I need to work really, really hard and really, really long and work. I'm not working a 9 to 5. I don't need to work 9 to 5. But like in my head, I'm like, I'm going to be sitting at my desk because I have to earn a full-time income working for myself somehow. So it's just all this underlying, I feel like, subconscious beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah. And this has a lot to do with that push and pull between the we and the me. So what I'm hearing is that, you learned and saw and were like schooled to do that 9 to 5, to work hard, you can only make money if you do these certain things. And when you do these certain things, you'll be rewarded in no other way possible. But because you've listened to your uniqueness, to the real way that your work is meant to happen, this traveling, the culture, the truth, the philosophies, this expansion of what it means to be happy when you work. That's literally your work mission in this lifetime, like to show people it doesn't have to be this daunting, boring, soul-sucking endeavor. And so I can see where you're like, I have to keep going. And I did all these things, but it's only 3 o'clock. I have to keep going. But it's like you said, when you were able to actually be on that trip and actually be working and actually be in your flow and giving yourself the time to chill and to skate and to admire the beauty around you and to realize that you are living your manifestation, like you were living in that moment, your daydream. And now it's like, oh, time for the next one. So perhaps the question I have next is like, how could you be more concerned about planning out the future and doing the bare minimum for the now? Like, what would that feel like for you if you put more time into envisioning, like planning out what it was that needed to be done, and then in the actual day going, okay, to make this happen, I just need to do these 3 things. And then if you did those 3 things and you got them done, you could just take the day off. Like, what would that feel like?
Yeah, that would feel amazing. I think I just need to remind myself not to do all this extra filler work because, I try to do like the big 3. Like, what are the 3 things I could do where, like, if I did that, that would be my step for the day. And tomorrow's my second step and my third step. And I always try to remind myself I don't need to take that many steps. It would feel great. And like the whole reason I'm doing this job is so I can base my work around my fun and be present and have fun. But then, then there's that push and pull where I'm like, I need to be working harder so I can live that. And like, no, I am living that and it is growing. But part of me is like, no, like you're not there yet. Like you got to keep overworking to get there. Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, the battle between, I guess what you're saying, the 2 minds a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. And I want to even go deeper into this with like some yes and no questions. So you're only allowed to say a yes or no.
Okay.
I'll try. Is it okay to work and not feel depleted of your energy?
Yes.
Is it okay to have a day off?
Yes.
Is it okay to have equal amounts of work and play?
Yes.
And is it okay to do work in a new way?
Yes.
And when, you say yes to all those things, like these are agreements that subconsciously in your mind, we're still like, is it safe to do this? So really, like, do you feel, based on your past, what you saw from your mom or your dad, like, do you feel there's any correlation between like watching either of them work and then like how you're working now and like having to live up to a certain way of work to be able to like achieve similar outcomes, so to say? I hope that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I see a correlation with my mom. So my mom was a single mom for like a pretty like large chunk of like my childhood. And I didn't know, I didn't notice any negative effects to that because she was literally a superhero. And by that, I mean, she did way, I want to, like I appreciate it, but she did way too much, like she had her own like advertising agency that she ran from her house with like me and my sister. And she like was all about cooking like wholesome like from scratch meals, so she was always cooking the meals, cleaning, taking us to all of our sports, running her own advertising business, taking us hiking on the weekends, taking us traveling, like teaching us how to fish, teaching us how to do like, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I feel like I'm always needing to like this do this, it's, I feel like we have very similar minds. And she's actually she's graduating next month. She just got her MFA in writing.
Wow.
And even just hearing her working style when I'm talking to her, like she'll do the same thing. She's just like, I just don't have any time, like I have to do this and this today and this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, mom, like slow down. And I'm like, oh wait, I'm self-projecting.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's always a mirror. Oh my gosh. And like moms, big time. Um, yeah, and you have like a lot of, yeah, like I said, energy in the house of Cancer, and that's the house of the mother. That's the house of our mamas, and how we are portrayed as like similar in a way. And that push and pull that you have with working and tending to your garden, like that is that big bit. And I invite you to lean deeper into that nurturing side of yourself, that feminine side. You have a polarity between your Venus and your Mars, so the masculine and feminine of you. What would you say feels more comfortable to give or receive? I know you said give earlier, but I'd love to hear like what your relationship is with that deeper.
I think I I like giving a lot. And maybe, I don't know, is one more masculine than the other?
Mm-hmm.
Masculine and feminine? Um, I'm trying to think how to like word this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing my track of my thoughts right now. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. I told you I gotta keep it more simple. I'm learning.
No, it's simple. My brain sometimes is just like,
It da, da, the the
you do it too.
yeah, and I'm laughing because now I'm thinking about why your mind's doing that. I'm like, oh, her Mercury's in Libra. My fucking rising sign's a Libra. So it's like all these little conversations, and you're like laughing about things that happened 3 sentences ago, and it's just now catching up to you. But yeah, so like what one you feel more called to, and then like how, yeah, we'll start with there.
Okay, so giving to me reminds me of my striving to work hard, and I'm used to doing a bunch of things myself. And for me, it's rewarding to give because not only, I enjoy helping people, I enjoy like surprising people and loving people, but I think I'm just used to like working.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not used to just like sitting back. And that's why when you asked that, and then I talked about my trip to California, and I just sat back and received, and I was calm and didn't have to like work or like do anything. I just enjoyed, and like everything was nice and calm and easy. So maybe receiving could be more comfortable for me. But my lifestyle is more, this is really hard to describe. Like my lifestyle, it's more comfortable for me to be uncomfortable by working. So like, I feel like giving and doing the things is the comfortable, even though that's the polar of like what it should be, if that makes, did I explain that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Really hard to like figure out how to say that.
Oh, I hear ya. And like for you, like you have like another big push and pull. You have a couple different of those push and pulls that are like, these are your challenges in life. And so it's that like we versus me. It's that work hard, play hard, but like relax and it'll come to you naturally. And then you have another one that's like, when you do not receive or ask for help in a way that is to receive, it's like your nervous system is like crunching by the bit, and that you're actually extracting yourself from serving because you're more in this like, all right, to feel comfortable, there has to be this level of control in my day. And when I have control in my day, I know the outcome a little bit better. And when I know the outcome a little bit better, then I feel a lot better about what's going to happen the next time, or like the next day, or the next minute, or like yesterday. But if you would invite in receiving in order to calm the nervous system and get your thoughts in this order of like, okay, I am worthy of asking for help, of not doing the bare minimum to say that, gosh, like you don't need to work hard, or that you're not like grateful for what you are working for, because there's definitely like a I want to work in this lifetime mode in your chart, but it's like it's this point of energetic exchange where you're just over giving. And so there's this like slight god, what's the word, not expectation, but it's kind of like this, it is kind of like this, god, what's it called, the what mentality, it is the trade mentality. So there has to be a trade in what you do, but when we think our trade isn't worthy, we just keep giving, and we keep giving, and we keep giving in that same trade when we've already traded. Like you gave someone a compliment, it's your turn to get. You give someone a piece of content, it's your turn to get, and like 7 times more, 3 times more, 10 times more. And so it's really learning that I do not need to have a trade mentality in the outside world. So where in your own life could you work on allowing that receptive mode, that flow, the pleasure, the sensual side, that divine energy to come in and really serve you and really put you up on the pedestal that you deserve to sit on, and be like, yeah, this is me. I don't have to overwork. I've learned how to balance it. I give what I need to give, and then I receive 10 times more. And so you don't need to answer that question because it can be like super personal. But that would be the invitation, is like, when you catch yourself in that heavy work mode and that heavy overgiving and that heavy, think about one thing you could do in that moment to receive, or like to give yourself that, I can breathe. And I love that you live right on Donner Lake, because like with the water in your chart, you're meant to be in the water. That's like, do you feel like that's a healing area for you?
Yeah, I mean, even since my dream, when I was a little kid, I always wanted to live on the coast. I moved to Maine and I was close to the coast. It's just always been something that I've felt really pulled to. And even skiing, it's just frozen water. I've really realized that most of my like passions, I'm either wanting to be hiking by a lake, I want to be swimming by a lake, I want to be paddleboarding, I want to be surfing or skiing, like all of it is like all of my favorite things, minus skateboarding, because concrete wave.
Yeah. That's your earth side.
Yeah. It's like very like, yeah, it gives me peace, a lot of peace being by that. And like that's the one thing when I started journaling, a new journal when I moved here was something came to me about how important it is to live, for me, in an inspiring environment. And for me, like where I live, it's, you know, it's facing Donner Lake, and like looking out my window, I'm just so much happier. I could, you know, I could be having a bad day, but just looking outside and like seeing the physical environment that I live in, that my apartment faces, like I'm so much happier. And I just, yeah, I think if I, you know, maybe if I didn't move here, I wouldn't have discovered the whole content creation thing so fast. I genuinely believe that the environment, like for me specifically, like, yeah, where I live is super, super important.
I love that. Did that answer your question, by the way?
I think it did. Yeah.
Right on.
It definitely makes sense to why I have such I wouldn't say conflicts, but kind of.
Yeah, and that's a great way to see it, honestly. It's like whatever word you want to use. Like you could use it as contrast or
Yeah.
like a seesaw.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like that's it. But there's also like so many gifts that you have that I could go on about. But those energies are actually the things in our lives that we tend to be either unconscious of or we just don't realize because they come so naturally. And like it will be worth talking about your chart again, like as it comes to your Saturn return, because there's a lot of like positive energy with this where you could really like tap into that with awareness, because all this is literally what we want to make of it. So if we want to just use it as like maybe I do tend to do this, perhaps I can try this out this other way. And if you do and you notice that there's a shift in feeling that's positive, then why not try that out a little bit more and a little bit more until it becomes more natural than the resistive, restrictive, very like tense feeling and like you have to do everything, and it can be overwhelming. But needless to say, yeah. I want to leave it at that because we could talk about a lot. But do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I'm happy. It's so cool listening to, yeah, just my chart, because I had no clue about anything other than, you know, just like the three main signs, and I still didn't even know exactly how everything tied all together. So I feel like it's giving me a lot of clarity, and I feel like I'm definitely that type of person. I'm like, now I want to go get a bunch of books about this and like do some researching about what I just learned, and yeah, talk to you more about it. And yeah, I'm jazzed.
Yes. Well, if you need any books, I got a stack that I still have to keep going into, so I can lend you some.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for this. Yeah, it's amazing seeing all of this come full circle. And yeah, I've been wanting to learn about astrology for so long, so it's kind of cool, just like my first time talking about this. I'm on your podcast. I'm honored.
Yes, I'm freaking stoked too. It's like, yes, it finally happened. We did it. We took the time and we got it done.
Yeah.
And so before we roll out, I would love to invite you to share where people can find you and how they can work with you, how they can just get into your world, anything.
Yeah, so I pretty much document all of my adventures and my life daily on Instagram and TikTok. It's Shelbs Says, SHELBS SAYS. You can find me on my Instagram and TikTok, like I just said. I have YouTube where I document maybe once a month. It's also Shelbs Says. And I also do a podcast, which I'm hoping to bring back, and that's called Intuition and Fruition. But yeah, I think those are all my main platforms. I also do some coaching for girls or guys that want to learn more about how to get into content creation and how they can kind of, even if you don't want to be a like quote unquote influencer or content creator, the value of understanding how social media can work for your business if you work for yourself, it's can be a game changer in life. So I do some one-on-one coaching as well, and you can just reach out to me over on my Instagram or email me. It's just shelbsays@gmail.com.
Yay, perfect. And we'll have all of that in the show notes when this goes live, which I believe will be this week, actually. So, yay.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
For allowing the world to hear about what your chart kind of consists of. I didn't want to talk too much about the placements or anything, to keep it on the DL, but we can always go back and talk on our own time about that, so you can get a little bit more information. I want to keep it a little bit private on here, but still share the like how it can really be a guiding light. That's really all it is. Like, if you don't resonate, leave it at the door. You don't got to take it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely resonated with me. It's actually pretty, just honestly kind of scary how spot on that was.
Yes. Well, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
I did a good job of asking.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Well, thank you so much. All the doggies are in here going nuts. So we will say goodbye to everybody on the podcast. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.